Welcome back, class 10. In your history class today, we will continue with chapter 3, Objectives and Methods of Struggle of the Early Nationalists. Failures and achievements of the early nationalists. The early nationalists have been criticized first of all their beggarly methods of prayers and petitions. Beggarly methods. They acted like beggars. They prayed, please. They gave petition. They were not robust enough. They were not motivated enough to fight for their rights. They did not fight for their rights. They begged for their rights. Their critics named them as armchair politicians, sitting in a chair, armchair, relaxing, and then begging for it. Even Dadabhai had to confess that Englishman does not understand the bark. They only understand bite. So if you politely tell them, if you politely tell the English people, they will not understand what you are trying to say. If you only shout at them, they will understand. Secondly, in those early days, the Congress lacked mass appeal. There was no mass appeal for the congressman. The congressman didn't have that charisma of being a very famous political party. It represented the English educated, well-to-do and middle-class family that hardly constituted nearly 100th part of the country population. So, Congress party to them was a very sophisticated party. They hardly represented anybody. Thirdly, the nationalists believed that sooner or later the British would agree to establish representatives institutions in India. So, thirdly, they believed that sooner or later the Britishers will understand what the Indians want and they will come in terms with that. They could not see the British and Indian interest clashed with each other. So, they did not have the vision to understand or to see that Britishers were there to harm our city, our country. Their aspirations, their interest went a pole against the interest of our country. They did not have anything to do good for our country. They did not do anything. Obviously they brought the English language. They did the infrastructure. They brought telegraph, this and that, railways. But ultimately it was for their own good, not for the good of our country. So the early nationalists did not understand that. They did not have that foresightedness to understand their achievements. Taking all the facts that are known, the record of the early achievements is not at all that poor. Obviously, the early nationalists, they also contributed to the independence movement. What were their achievements? At first, they infused, that means they included, national consciousness among various sections of public life. Consciousness was there. They promoted the spirit of common brotherhood and aroused among people the feeling that they all belong to one nation. So for the first time, they brought into the scene of common brotherhood. They aroused and promoted a feeling of oneness. Secondly, they had done a lot to popularize the idea of democracy, civil liberty, and representative institutions. So they had done a lot to popularize the idea of democracy. They have done a lot towards civil liberty. They have done a lot in the process of representative institutions. They declared that Indians wanted to be governed according to the ideals of government prevalent in Europe. They said that India was to be governed by the idealism of the government prevalent in Europe. Thirdly, these early leaders explained how British were exploiting Indians. For the first time, these leaders explained to Indians and to English people in England that how the Britishers were exploiting the Indians. Dadabhai built up a theory of foreign rule resulted in enormous drain of wealth from India to Great Britain. Dadabhai Naoroji set up his theory. It is known as the drain theory, where the uh, enormous wealth in the form of gold, precious stones, in the form of raw materials, they have been drained away from India, and it went to the English people. To look into the charges, a commission was appointed in 1894. Whether the charges of Dadabhai Naoroji was true or not, to look into the charges, a commission was appointed in 1897 with Dadabhai Naoroji as the member. He thus became the first Indian to be the member of the Royal Commission, popularly known as the Webley Commission. Then, early nationalists like Ranade and Gopal Krishna Gokhale were passionate reformers and supporters of India. They raised their voices against social evils like child marriage and widowhood, imposed widowhood. Finally, they had been trying to put pressure on government to reform the legislative councils. And the result was the Indian Councils Acts of 1892. In brief, we can say that this period of early nationalism was the seed time of Indian nationalism. So what we understand from here is that although we can say that what did the early nationalists do? They only prayed and begged to the English people. But you should understand, it was the first time when the idea of nationalism, the idea of national consciousness was planted in the hearts of the Indians. So it is said that it is the seed time. Seed time. That means a seed was planted. What was the seed? The seed of national consciousness, the seed of understanding that Britishers were there to do us harm, not to do us good. Now we go to a very interesting part, that is the prominent leaders in the early days of Indian nationalism. So you have to know the names, their achievements. There were such distinguished figures among the early nationalists as Dadabhai Naoroji, Mahadeva Govinda Ranade, Firoz Shah Mehta, Surendranath Banerjee, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. The contributions of three such persons we will study. We'll start off with Dadabhai Naoroji, then we'll go to Surendranath Banerjee, and then Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Dadabhai Naoroji. Dadabhai Naoroji was one of the main Indian statesmen. He came to be known as the Grand Old Man of India. He was born on 4th September 1825 in Parsi family of Bombay. In 1854, he was appointed the professor of mathematics in Elphinstone College in Bombay. What was his contribution to the freedom struggle? Number one was India's unofficial ambassador in England. In 1866, Dadabhai founded the East India Association in London. Its object was to inform the British of the true state of affairs in England. So, Dadabhai Naoroji was the first one to form the East India Association. He formed it in London. And what was the object? What was the object of that association? To inform the British of the true state of affairs in India. During his long stay in England, he made friendship with eminent Englishmen like Gladstone, Bradlaugh, and Bright. He was the first Indian to have won a seat in 1892 in the British House of Commons. As members of the British Parliament, he rendered admirable service to the cause of India and the people of Indian origin in South Africa. It was due to his efforts Dadabhai and Bradlaugh The British House of Commons passed a resolution recommending that ICS examinations will be held simultaneously in England and India. So it was due to Dadabhai Naoroji and Bradlaugh, a resolution was passed in the British House of Commons, that is their Lok Sabha in the Parliament, the House of Commons, and their Rajya Sabha is the House of the Lords. A resolution was passed that ICS exams will be held simultaneously at the same time in England and in India, although this resolution did not become an act. Second was Dadabhai Naoroji was the founder member of the Indian Congress, one of the founder members of the Indian National Congress. Dadabhai was one of the founders of the Indian National Congress. Then he presided over the sessions of 1886, 1893, 1906. His presidentship of Congress was memorable in many ways. The partition of Bengal in 1905 had very sadly disillusioned, that means they were back to reality, disillusioned the early nationalists. The early nationalists were shocked to see how the Britishers behaved. They did not understand and they did not believe that Britishers could behave in such a way. Their power and prestige were on the decline. They therefore persuaded Dadabhai to preside the Calcutta session of Congress in 1906 because Dadabhai Naoroji was a very eminent, very popular nationalist. Dadabhai's name and fame made it difficult for the assertive nationalists. That assertive means their earlies were moderate, then comes the assertive. Assertive means they asserted, they were against the early nationalists' ideologies, their methods of praying and petitions, they were against. So, Dadabhai's name and fame made it difficult for the assertive nationalists to oppose their candidature, although they would have liked Bal Gangadhar Tilak to hold the office. Then comes his historic address in Calcutta in Calcutta session of Congress in 1906. Dadabhai, historic address read out by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, due to Dadabhai's ill health, said that stress the attainment of Swaraj. He said that now they want Swaraj. The Congress session of 1906 passed resolution on Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott and national education. His enunciation, then comes his enunciation of nature of British imperialism and cause of poverty. His famous drain theory and views of Indian economy. He founded the drain theory. That means, which said that all the resources in the form of cash, gold, precious stones, raw materials, they were getting drained out from India and they're going to England. Dadabhai edited Rast Goftar, that is Speaker of Truth. He also started a magazine, Dharma Marg Darshak. Dharma Marg Darshak. He was a great thinker and writer. Dadabhai's views on Indian economy and exploitation of India could be gathered in his classic work, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Through his famous drain theory, he explained how India's wealth was being taken away to England, and in these forms, how India's wealth was taken away in different forms. Number one, salaries payable to the members of the Indian Council. Number two, dispatch of savings to England by British personnel posted in India. Number three, pensions of British officers. Number four, payments to the War Office for the maintenance of British troops and profits of the British trading agencies. The Hindu, a national English daily, stated that as an authority of Indian economics, there is none equal to Dadabhai. He was a very good economist. Now, his advocacy of a just political system. Dadabhai believed that justice constituted the real basis of political power and not brute force. He passed away in 1917, and with that came an end of a very prominent and very powerful early nationalist, Dadabhai Naoroji. Then comes Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee uh, is often called as the Indian Burke. Like Edmund Burke, he combined knowledge with the capacity to move the audience. Srinivas graduated in 1868. He successfully completed his Indian Civil Service examination in 1869. He was appointed the Assistant Magistrate of Sylhet. Some charges were framed against him. As a result, in 1873, he was dismissed from the service. After his dismissal from Indian Civil Service, Surendranath Banerjee became the professor of English in Metropolitan Institution. Later, he joined Free Church College in Calcutta. He started a school which later grew into a college. It's known as Ripon College. Now, what was his contribution to India's freedom? Uh, Fight against injustice and repression. Surendranath Banerjee took to public life in 1876, the year which he founded the Indian Association. Indian Association was founded by Surendranath Banerjee. The object of the association was to agitate for introduction of political reforms. In 1877, the age limit for civil service examination was reduced from 21 to 19. Surendranath Banerjee made a tour of India protesting against the reduction of this maximum age. He fearlessly criticized many measures like Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act. He criticized these acts. Surendranath was elected to the Calcutta Corporation in 1876 and was there for more than 2 decades. He was elected to the Bengal Legislative Council in 1894, 1900, 1896 and 1900. Surendranath Banerjee transformed the civic and political duties into means to serve people. He made it a point that the civic servants, and the people working in Calcutta Corporation should serve the people. Convened Indian National Conference in 1883, a pillar of Congress in early days. Surendranath took the lead in convening means calling, arranging the Indian National Conference in 1883. It was the first organization of all India character before the Indian Congress. In 1885, the Indian National Congress was born. The Indian National Conference welcomed the birth of Indian Congress and soon became a merger. So, the Indian National Conference, which was convened by Surendranath Banerjee in 1883, merged with the Indian National Congress, which was formed in 1885. Merged means came together. So his role as a journalist, he edited the Bengali, which was founded by him. The paper became criticized. The paper criticized the Ilbert Bill, the Vernacular Press Act. He was a firm believer in India's right to self-government. His best known book was A Nation in Making. His principle was opposition where necessary and cooperation where possible. Very beautiful. Where opposition was needed, you should oppose. Where cooperation was needed, you should cooperate. He disapproved violent activities. Obviously, he was an early nationalist. He urged Indians to boycott foreign goods. He supported Swadeshi movement. And that is basically regarding Mr. Surendranath Banerjee. Then comes Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was best known as the political guru of Gandhi because violence had no place in his scheme. Moreover, in 1912, Gopal Krishna Gokhale went to South Africa at the invitation of Gandhi, who needed his support in Satyagraha movement. So he was in South Africa for 26 days, and the credit of bringing back Gandhi to Indian political scene goes to him. He was the person who brought Gandhi to the Indian political scene. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was born in 1866 in Kolhapur in Maharashtra. He graduated from Elphinstone College, Bombay. At the age of 20, he became the professor of history and economics in Fergusson College in Pune. For 4 years, he edited Sudharak, a quarterly journal of the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. In 1904, he awarded the title of CIE, that means the Companion of Indian Empire. During his visit to England in 1905, he tried to persuade the British statesmen not to give effect to the partition of Bengal. However, he failed. Partition of Bengal was there. So this is about his background. But what about his contribution? Foremost among the Congress leaders, prominent amongst the Congress leaders, Gokhale was one of the India's most respected leaders. He presided over Varanasi session of Congress in 1905. He was a man with moderate views, not very aggressive, and immense faith in British liberalism. He had immense faith in the Britishers. The goal of the Congress should be the attainment of the form of government similar to which existed in self-governed colonies in British Empire. He thought that the Indians should goal in such self-government which were present in other British colonies, not Purna Swaraj or total independence. Under the British boundary, they wanted certain advantages and certain liberties. His faith in constitutional means to achieve goal. Gokhale believed constitutional agitation, that means petition, appeals, passive resistance. At the same time, he supported Swadeshi movement. He made a strong plea in his request and movement, pleading for the reform of legislative council and separation from judiciary to executive. Executive should be different from judiciary. Judiciary should not be influenced by government bodies like executive. Question comes, who established the Servants of India Society? Gopal Krishna Gokhale. In 1905, Gopal Krishna Gokhale established the Servants of India Society. The society trained men to devote their lives to the cause of country. Its members were required to create among the people a deep, passionate love for the motherland. And this society also worked for the elevation and education of women and the elevation of the depressed class. Arousal of national awakening. In 1902, Gokhale became the member of the Imperial Legislative Council. He pleaded for reduction of salt duty and abolition of excise tax on cotton goods. In 1910 and 1912, he moved resolution to the Imperial Legislative Council for the relief of Indian bonded labor in Natal. In one of his budget speeches, he pleaded for primary education for all the children. Gopal Krishna Gokhale would like Indians to be given a large share of the Indian civil service. In his work abroad, in a paper which he read at the New Reform Club in London, he said that India's destiny is to obey an honored place among the family of nations. Never ever he said that we want complete freedom. They wanted, you know what the early nationalists wanted. His economic ideas, he pleaded, see the word, he pleaded for reduction of land revenue. Gokhale was in favor of state protection to infant Indian industries, that infant growing small industries should be protected by the state. He called for the employment of the members of the educated middle class. Gokhale died in 1915 at the premature age of 49. So with this, we basically come to the end of this chapter 3. Your work will be to solve all the short questions and the structured questions from your book. Remember, if you solve all these questions, you will get nothing uncommon in your examination. If you solve all the questions will come from this only. Nothing will come from outside. So solve it. Go through the chapter, go through my classes and solve it in your exercise copy. Thank you very much.